Welcome to this episode of Table Tennis. Today in this lecture, we'll be discuss about the equipment and playing conditions and officials in table tennis. Equipment and playing conditions. Approved and authorized equipment. The approval and authorization of playing equipment shall be conducted on behalf of the Board of Directors by the Equipment Committee. An approval or authorization may be suspended by the Executive Committee at any time, and subsequently the approval or authorization may be withdrawn by the Board of Directors. The entry form or prospectus for an open tournament shall specify the brands and colors of table, net assembly and ball to be used. The choice of equipment shall be as laid down by the association in whose territory the competition is held, selected from brands and types currently approved by the ITTF. The covering material on a side of the blade used for striking the ball shall be currently authorized by the ITTF and shall be attached to the blade so that the ITTF logo, the ITTF number, the supplier and brand names are clearly visible nearest the handle. Lists of all approved and authorized equipment and materials are maintained by the ITTF office, and details are available on the ITTF website. Table legs shall be at least 40 cm from the end line of the table for wheelchair players. Now, playing clothing. Playing clothing shall consist of a short sleeved or sleeveless shirt and shorts or skirt or one part sports outfits, socks and playing shoes, other garments such as part or all of a tracksuit shall not be worn during play except with the permission of the referee. The main color of a shirt, skirt or shorts other than sleeves and collar of a shirt shall be clearly different from that of the ball in use. Clothing may bear numbers or lettering on the back of the shirt to identify a player, his or her association, or in club matches, his or her club, and advertisement in accordance with the provisions. If the back of a shirt bears the player's name, this shall be situated just below the collar. Any numbers required by organizers to identify a player shall have priority over advertisements on the center part of the back of a shirt. Such numbers shall be contained within a panel having an area not greater than 600 centimeters square. Any markings or trimming on the front or side of a playing garment and any objects such as jewelry worn by a player shall not be so conspicuous or brightly reflecting as to unsight an opponent. Clothing shall not carry designs or lettering which might cause offense or bring the game into disrupt. The players of a team taking part in a team match and players of the same association forming a doubles pair in a world, Olympic or Paralympic title competitions shall be dressed uniformly, with the possible exception of socks, shoes, and the number, size, color, and design of advertisements on clothing. Players of the same association forming a doubles pair in other international competitions may wear clothes of different manufacturers if the basic colors are the same and their national association authorities these procedures. Opposing players and pairs shall wear shirts that are of sufficiently different colors to enable them to be easily distinguished by spectators. Where opposing players or teams have a similar shirt and cannot agree which of them will change, the decision shall be made by the umpire by lot. Players competing in a World, Olympic or Paralympic title competition or Open International Championships shall wear shirt and short or skirt of types authorized by their association. Now, playing conditions. The playing space shall be rectangular and not less than 14 meter long, 7 meter wide and 5 meter high. But the four corners may be covered by surrounds of not more than 1.5 meter length. For wheelchair events, the playing space may be reduced but shall not be less than 8 meter long and 6 meter wide. The following equipment and fittings are to be considered as part of each playing area: the table including the net assembly, printed numbers identifying the table, umpires, tables and chairs, score indicators, towels and ball boxes, surrounds, flooring, boards on the surrounds indicating the names of players or associations, or small technical equipment which shall be fitted in a way that does not affect play. The playing area shall be enclosed by surrounds about 75 centimeter high, all of the same dark background color, separating it from adjacent playing areas and from spectators. In World, Olympic and Paralympic title competitions, the light intensity measured at the height of the playing surface shall be at least 1000 lux uniformly over the whole of the playing surface and at least 500 lux elsewhere in the playing area. In other competitions, in the intensity shall be at least 600 lux uniformly over the playing surface and at least 400 lux elsewhere in the playing area. Where several tables are in use, the lighting level shall be the same for all of them, and the level of background lighting in the playing hall shall not be greater than the lowest level in the playing area. The light source shall not be less than 5 meter above the floor. The background shall be gently dark and shall not contain bright light sources or daylight through uncovered windows or other apertures. The flooring shall not be light colored, brightly reflecting or slippery, and its surface shall not be of brick, ceramics, concrete or stone, but the flooring may be of concrete for wheelchair events. In World, Olympic and Paralympic title competitions, the flooring shall be of wood or of a brand and type of rollable synthetic material authorized by the ITTF. Technical equipment on the net assembly shall be considered part of it. Racket control. It is the responsibility of each player to ensure that racket coverings are attached to their racket blade with adhesives that do not contain harmful volatile solvents. A racket control center shall be established at all ITTF World title, Olympics and Paralympics competition, as well as at a select number of ITTF World Tour and Junior Circuit competitions, and may be established at continental and regional competitions. The Racket Control Center shall test rackets according to the policy and procedure established by the Executive Committee on recommendation of the Equipment Committee and Umpires and Referees Committee, to ensure that rackets abide by all ITTF regulations, including but not limited to racket covering thickness, flatness and presence of harmful volatile substances. The racket control test shall be carried out after the match at random only where the player does not submit the racket for a before match test. The rackets do not pass the racket control test before the match cannot be used but may be replaced by a second racket which may be tested immediately if time permits, but if not, will be tested after the match in the case where rackets do not pass a random racket control test after the match. The offending player will be liable to penalties. All players are entitled to have their rackets tested voluntarily without any penalties before the match. Following 4 accumulated failures on any aspect of racket testing in a period of 4 years, the player may complete the event, but subsequently the executive committee will suspend the offending player for 12 months. The ITTF shall inform the suspended player in writing of such suspension. The suspended player may appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport within 21 days of the receiving of the letter of suspension. Should such an appeal be submitted, the player's suspension would remain in force. A properly ventilated area shall be provided for the attachment of racket coverings to rackets, and liquid adhesives shall not be used anywhere else at the playing venue. Playing venue means that part of the building used for table tennis and its related activities, facilities and public area. Now, doping control. All players participating in international competitions, including junior competitions, shall be subject to the in-competition testing by the ITTF. The Players' National Association and any other anti-doping organization responsible for testing at a competition in which they participate. Match officials. First of all, we have a referee. For each competition as a whole, a referee shall be appointed and his or her identity and location shall be made known to the participants and where appropriate to the team captains. The referee shall be responsible for the conduct of the draw, the scheduling of the matches by time and table, the appointment of match officials, conducting a pre-tournament briefing for match officials, checking the eligibility of players, deciding whether play may be suspended in an emergency, deciding whether players may leave the playing area during a match, deciding whether statutory practice periods may be extended, deciding whether players may wear tracksuits during a match, deciding any question of interpretation of laws or regulations, including acceptability of clothing, playing equipment and playing conditions, deciding whether and where players may practice during an emergency suspension of play, taking disciplinary action for misbehavior or other breaches of regulations, where with the agreement of the competition management committee, any of the duties of the referee are delegated to other persons, the specific responsibilities and locations of each of these persons shall be made known to the participants and where appropriate to the team captains. The referee or a responsible deputy appointed to exercise authority in his or her absence shall be present at all times during play. Where the referee is satisfied that it is necessary to do so, he or she may replace a match official with another at any time, but he or she may not alter a decision already made by the replaced official on a question of fact within his or her jurisdiction. Players shall be under the jurisdiction of the referee from the time at which they arrive at the playing venue until they leave it. Now, the umpire, assistant umpire and stroke counter. An umpire and an assistant umpire shall be appointed for each match. The umpire shall sit or stand in line with the net and the assistant umpire shall sit directly facing him or her at the other side of the table. The umpires shall be responsible for checking the acceptability of equipment and playing conditions and reporting any deficiency to the referee, conducting the draw for the choice of serving, receiving and ends. Deciding whether the requirements of the service law may be relaxed for a player with physical disability. Controlling the order of serving, receiving and ends and correcting any errors therein. Deciding each rally as a point or a let. Calling the score in accordance with specified procedure. Introducing the expedite system at the appropriate time. Maintaining the continuity of play. Taking action for breaches of the advice or behavior regulations. Drawing by lot which player, pair or team shall change their shirt should opposing players or teams have a similar shirt and cannot agree which of them will change. Ensuring that only authorized persons are at the playing area. The assistant umpire shall decide whether or not the ball in play touches the edge of the playing surface at the side of the table nearest him or her. Inform the umpire for breaches of the advice or behavior regulations. Either the umpire or the assistant umpire may decide that the player's service action is illegal, decide that in an otherwise correct service the ball touches the net assembly, decide that a player obstructs the ball, decide that the conditions of play are disturbed in a way that may affect the outcome of the rally. Time the duration of the practice period of play and of intervals. Either the assistant umpire or a separate official may act as a stroke counter to count the strokes of the receiving player or pair when the expedite system is in operation. Players shall be under the jurisdiction of the umpire from the time at which they arrive at the playing area until they leave it. Now come to the appeals. No agreement between players in an individual event or between team captains in a team event can alter a decision on a question of fact by the responsible match official, on a question of interpretation of laws or regulations by the responsible referee, or on any other question of tournament or match conduct by the responsible management committee. No appeal may be made to the referee against a decision on a question of fact by the responsible match official or to the management committee on a question of interpretation of laws or regulations by the referee. An appeal may be made to the referee against a decision of a match official on a question of interpretation of laws or regulations, and the decision of the referee shall be final. An appeal may be made to the competition management committee against a decision of the referee on a question of tournament or match conduct not covered by the laws or regulations, and the decision of the management committee shall be final. In an individual event, an appeal may be made only by a player participating in match in which the question has arisen. In a team event, an appeal made by the captain of a team participating in the match in which the question has arisen. A question of interpretation of laws or regulations arising from the decision of a referee, or a question of tournament or match conduct arising from the decision of a competition management committee may be submitted by the player or team captain eligible to make an appeal through his or her parent association for consideration by the ITTF Rules Committee. The Rules Committee shall give a ruling as a guide for future decisions, and this ruling may also be made the subject of a protest by an association to the board of directors or a general meeting. But it shall not affect the finality of any decision already made by the responsible referee or management committee. Now, the match conduct. First of all, we have score indication. The umpire shall call the score as soon as the ball is out of play at the completion of a rally, or as soon as is practicable thereafter. In calling the score, during a game the umpire shall call first the number of points scored by the player or pair due to serve in the next rally of the game, and then the number of points scored by the opposing player or pair. At the beginning of a game and when a change of server is due, the umpire shall point to the next server and may also follow the score call with the next server's name. At the end of a game, the umpire shall call the number of points scored by the winning player or pair, followed by the number of points scored by the losing player or pair, and may then name the winning player or pair. In addition to calling the score, the umpire may use hand signals to indicate his or her decisions. When a point has been scored, he or she may raise his or her arm nearer to the player or pair who won the point, so that the upper arm is horizontal and the forearm is vertical with the closed hand upward. When for any reason the rally is a let, he or she may raise his or her hand above his or her head to show that the rally has ended. The score, and under the expedite system, the number of strokes shall be called in English or in any other language acceptable to both players or pairs and to the umpire. The score shall be displayed on mechanical or electronic indicators so that it is clearly visible to the players and the spectators. When a player is formally warned for bad behavior, a yellow marker shall be placed on or near the score indicator. So while concluding, I hope you have found that useful. It is definitely worth spending a bit of time checking all the equipment and playing conditions to make sure you don't have any serious problems with it. Thanks.